Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hot Seat, a wireless design and development interview series where we talk about the latest wireless technologies, components, and design issues for the wireless design engineering community. Today we are speaking with Brock Butler, who is currently Marketing Director for mobile devices at Spirent Communications. After joining Spirent in 1999 as a development engineer, Brock has held various positions in product development, product management, and marketing, including 5 years leading Spirent's wireless location technology product segment. He regularly writes for industry publications, speaks at events, and uses digital media to promote the understanding of wireless technology and its impact on testing. Brock holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Villanova University, Pennsylvania. If you would like to connect with Brock after the interview, visit the links provided to get directed to his LinkedIn and Twitter pages. Welcome, Brock. Let's start the conversation with a brief background of Spirent and how it fits into the HD Voice and VoLTE market.
Sure. Well, Spirent is a test and measurement company. We focus on helping companies deploy, develop, perfect wireless services. So when it comes to HD Voice and VoLTE, we're very active working with our customers around the world, and that includes chipset manufacturers, handset manufacturers, operators, NEMs, network equipment manufacturers. We help them test the functionality and make sure that when it deploys, or after it deploys, we make sure that it works well. In the case of VoLTE and HD, as we'll come to, that's a really important topic right now because the rollout of voice services over LTE is coming, and they got to make sure they're going to work as well as they did in the past.
Can you discuss some of the trends that you see occurring in this particular market, and maybe some of the challenges that you see present, especially when it comes to the development processes and the design processes?
The trends are clear. VoLTE is coming pretty fast here in North America, with LTE deployments now a couple years underway. The next phase is to actually do voice services on LTE, and so there's a lot of things going into place right now that's going to make that work. So there's a lot of development happening on the device side. There's a lot of things happening in the network side. And the hope is that when this deploys, it's all going to work, and voice services are going to work as well or better than they used to when it was deployed on circuit switch networks. Now that may or may not be the case, and so we're very involved in helping answer those questions. Will it work better? Will it scale? And I guess the challenges there are a lot different than they used to be with circuit switch voice. With the all data network, with voice going over, basically voice over IPE over a wireless link, it was hard enough to get voice over IP working over the internet where you could just throw a lot of bandwidth at it. When you're doing it over a wireless network, bandwidth is a lot more costly, and the service can be interrupted by a lot more things. There's mobility, there's interoperability, there's a lot more going on. And in the past, testing voice was really just about making sure that things worked at the lower layers, layer 1 through 3. There were dedicated voice bearers in 3G and 2G. With voice over LTE, there are no dedicated voice bearers. Everything goes over the same data pipe. So on the network side, it's really important that the eNode B schedulers are able to properly schedule voice traffic so that it doesn't get interrupted by other services. There's a lot of impact of the IMS clients on devices. The codecs, which go into the devices and the network, are really the reason we're calling it HD Voice is because they're upgrading the codecs to be wideband codecs, which means a larger bandwidth captures more of the frequencies in our voice and potentially or hopefully brings better quality. So the codecs, the selection of those codecs, the implementation of those codecs need to be tested. And I guess the way that we're addressing that challenge at Spirent is what we call testing end-to-end. It really, in order to understand how all of those things, if they're all going to work, you can't just test little functional elements. You have to test from the endpoints, which means test one endpoint is the person talking on the phone, so it's actually listening to the voice conversation on the phone, all the way through the network to the voice server. And so Spirent has deployed voice servers all over the world, and we've got a tool that allows you to go out and test the voice quality end to end, either in the field or in the lab. And so, field testing is the real thing, but testing in the lab also has some advantages, some cost advantages, and some advantages to repeatability. So I think, there's a lot of challenges out there, and we're very active in helping customers solve them.
What solutions does Spirent provide to customers to help performance measurement for HD Voice and VoLTE?
So I alluded to the fact that we've got some solutions out there. There's a product recently launched called Nomad HD. It's a product that's been in existence for a while for testing voice quality and call performance. Call performance would be making calls and maintaining calls. So obviously the voice quality doesn't matter if a call drops. So we can measure call drops, we can measure the ability to make calls, and then we can measure the quality of the voice once it's established. And it monitors something called a mean opinion score, which is a scoring algorithm that takes into account voice quality metrics, latency, background noise, and basically the clarity of voice, and it scores it to tell you how good it is. So Nomad has always done that. Nomad HD is new. It's enhanced to work with VoLTE and the wideband codec that I mentioned earlier. So it's really optimized for VoLTE. And then that tool is what is used in the field and in the lab in conjunction with the voice servers that we have. And so we've got a pretty unique platform in that this can be tested all over the world. All the data can be pulled back into a central server and analyzed, so you can understand how the performance is across devices, across networks, across geographic regions. And that's become a really important tool right now as VoLTE starts to be deployed in North America.
And can you share some of your predictions that you may have for the HD Voice and VoLTE markets, and where Spirent will fit into those predictions or into the future developments of these types of markets?
It's probably pretty well known that there will be more VoLTE deployments either late this year or early next year in North America by some of the major operators. And I think my prediction would be that those deployments happen, but that they are geographically pretty sparse, meaning they'll only be deployed in a couple of regions, and that the number of handsets that are actually deployed that support VoLTE will be limited. The reason for that is all the challenges we mentioned. It's going to be hard to get it right. So I don't think there's going to be wide-scale deployment at first, because even with a limited number of regions and a limited number of phones, we're probably going to see some issues. And Spirent's going to be involved. We are intimately involved with some of the operator deployments and getting out there in the field with some of the test networks. We're also used pre-launch on devices to make sure that the devices that will be VoLTE capable are tested to some level of quality. The voice quality and the functional aspects are tested. And so I think once we get through those first deployments, we work out some of the kinks, it'll start to be more widespread. And I guess the jury's still out on whether or not it will be better or worse or the same. But I know it's keeping a lot of people up at night. So that's where we're going to be involved in helping them answer those questions.
Can you maybe offer some insight on what Spirent offers to the industry that's different or unique versus some of your competing companies?
There's a lot of competitors right now who are able to test on the device side, and there's some other competitors who test through the network side, are able to test the different network servers and the network components and up into the voice servers. Spirent is a little bit unique in that we have mobile device test solutions that are focused on mobile phones. But we also, actually, the majority of Spirent's business is more on the wireline side, which is where a lot of the servers come into play, and the higher layer, VoLTE signaling comes into play. And so we can bridge the gap. We can test end to end, which is, as I mentioned before, really the critical thing here. And then we can also test specifically on the mobile device side. Is it doing what it should be doing? Then we can go into the node B and find out, is it doing what it should be doing? We can go into the EPC, is it doing the right thing? And we can analyze problems at different layers of the network. And with services like this, I think that's critical to provide answers at every layer. And so I think that's something unique about the Spirent solutions.
Okay, and then for my final question, is there anything else that you would like to add or comment on that you think is important for our viewers to know about Spirent, especially as one of the leading companies within this market?
So Spirent, I think a lot of people don't realize Spirent offers a lot of lab test equipment and testing services, but we also do a lot of field testing, and we offer services that allow benchmarking to happen. So we actually will go out there and do testing for companies who want to benchmark, say, a phone versus another phone, or a network versus another network, or a service on using VoLTE versus non-VoLTE. That's something we do a lot of. We go out there and we can create, we can give answers to questions that people have. We don't just sell test equipment. And so, anything related to VoLTE, whether it's how do you test a phone, to just an question about, is this phone going to work as well as this one did, that's something that Spirent can offer as a service.
Well, I would like to thank you, Brock, for joining us and discussing the HD voice and VoLTE markets. I'm Megan Zimba, and I'll see you guys next time in the hot seat.